Hello, I'm Dan. This is Geekery Labs. Here is the next update on my tank build. This is the 1/12 scale MLC-3 tank scratch build / kitbash that I'm doing. Okay, so here's the progress I've made. I've actually done a fair amount now. So okay, I'll start with the tub. So here's the main tub. I added what is going to be the main power switch. So that's down there. It is just a simple generic power switch that I had on hand. It's like this. So it's just 2-position. It's got 3 ports on it, but I'm only using 2 for simple power on and off. That's going to wind up being painted and dressed so that way it looks like part of the controls for the tank. I've already got that with wires on it, and then the latch itself is screwed to some styrene, which is glued in place. So that's nice and rigid where it's at. I've got a couple leads coming out here, so that way I'll be able to do that. I've got a couple of, I'm real happy with these. These are actually bits of sprue from a kit. I don't even remember which one it was anymore. But like I said before, I like to hold on to interestingly shaped sprue pieces. So these are 2 bits of sprue that were attached together that looked well, like this. I didn't modify anything except for cutting off the sides to size it appropriately. But now that makes a very nice set of foot pedals to help control said tank. So his heels fit perfectly into where those are. So that is a very nice little added piece. I wanted to have something in there for his feet to rest on rather than just having it just a box. So then I've got a couple extra styrene pieces in here just to kind of beef that up a little bit. Not much else on this has been modified so far. So that's where we're at with the tub part. The upper hull here, I've got the engine bay cut out. I've got a couple of openings there for the cannons to dip into whenever they're raised. And then I've got all these raised parts here, which snug up against the tub whenever it all goes together. So that all fits on there and holds on nice and secure, nice and snug. Where these circles are, I'm going to have 4 magnets, so that way I'll be able to have a magnet glued to the top piece, a magnet or a piece of metal on the base, and that way I'll be able to separate it, because otherwise I won't be able to get into the electronics if I need to modify or fix anything. So I'm going to make it to where the top piece will be able to separate off from the tub. Then I'll just have some slack in the wires that are needed, because it'll have all the lights and everything up here. The main control console I haven't done anything with past where the last update was, but the piece that the console attaches to, I have now added in the LEDs. These are the LEDs that come with the big Enterprise D part work kit that I'm getting. Hopefully we'll be getting again someday. I haven't received a shipment on that since November, and it's been very frustrating not getting them. But I've got these LEDs here. These are all white, and so I've got the leads coming out here. These all just feed here and then into the front bay. I've also, you can see I've got the louvers on the front. So theoretically, you know, in a functioning vehicle, these would all be capable of tilting shut to close out any airflow into the front. If you look on the inside here, I've got that screening that I had shown earlier on. So it's got that grill in there. And then underneath, I have a piece behind here. This I'm kind of thinking of as a heating element that was added to the tank to make it suitable for Hoth environment. So it has this here where the cold air comes in against this, and this would sort of radiate out and heat it before it gets into the power plant itself. So, and then I've got this little circular piece here, so that way, looking in the front, you actually have sort of the silhouette you have from the sticker. I added a little bit of a textured top in here, because whenever the panel opens, I want this to be, you know, something that looks nice in that manner. I do have pieces that are going to be going into here. Starting with, here is the power plant itself, which will be coming up from underneath here. It'll actually be attached to the underside of this, but that'll be roughly like that. So here is the power plant as it's currently in its unpainted state. So it's got lots of little bits and details all over the place. I've got leftover 3D printed parts. I've got bits of sprue. I've got just a lot of wires in here. I've got some photo etch parts. I've even got a little 3D printed universal greebly, because that had to be in part of the build. So this is basically ready to have, you know, these two arms here masked off, so that way they don't get any paint on them, but I can actually prime and start painting this. So this will be mostly hand painted after I get it primed, and so that way I can pick out all the details and wires and stuff. I like it because it's kind of chaotic in the way it's put together, and it looks like it's been jury-rigged and repaired 100 times. Some of the fins on this blue 3D printed piece are broken, and so I left them broken. I left them sort of bent over and looking like it's been, you know, repaired and pulled out of different vehicles and used again and again way past its serviceable date. So there's the power plant. This is a piece I finished up this morning with more bits of sprue and little random styrene pieces I've got, and some wires, just little bits and pieces all stuck together. This is actually a sensor unit for the tank, which is intended to fit right under here. So it's got these little clamp parts here that will just fit right in there. I need to do a little trimming to make it fit more cleanly, but that's going to go up under here. So that'll be the sensors for the vehicle. And then I've also got this. In fact, I'll take this out. This covers up the screws. Takes a little bit of finagling to get it on there just right. There. That covers over the screws for the hinge. So that way I don't have to actually Dremel off the screw heads here. I can just leave them as they are. And whenever that's applied, it literally just friction fits over the threads and stays put. So that just gives it some more detailing. And that way whenever this is opened, I've got some detail there. And it fits inside just fine whenever it's all closed up. So that's just some nice little bit of detail, because I want it to all look good in all the various positions. If I wanted to display it with the hood open, I want it to look good in there from all the various angles. I don't want to have just a couple of brass hinges standing out. So that is where I'm at. All these bits and pieces take a while to assemble. You know, these little things, the engine here, this took me, maybe 6 hours or so to just fit everything the way I liked. And just kept drilling out parts and adding more wires and just taking things apart again and putting them back together in a different shape. And you know, it's all iteration, and eventually things just sort of come out in a way that you're happy with, and that's where you leave it. Otherwise, you take it apart and do it again. Nice thing about styrene, it comes apart easy. Especially if it was recently glued, it's still kind of tacky in there, and you can usually just kind of give it a little twist and pull parts off again, and then let it dry, and then you can sand it flat and try something else. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. And I'll be back when I have more to share.